Hello, and welcome back to Lasting Legacies. My name is Peggy.
My name is Billie.
And we work for the Madison County Public Library System in North Carolina. Today, we're going to be continuing our series on genealogy, which we have titled Lasting Legacies. And we're going to be talking about census records today. We'll be going through Ancestry, which is a free service offered by our library system if you have a
Library card.
Very important. So let's get started.
All right, I'm going to share my screen with you, which will be ancestry.com. And once you are here, always make sure Madison County Public Library is in the right-hand side of your screen. Otherwise, it will ask you to pay for this service. But as we mentioned, if you have a library card, it is free. All right, so this is Ancestry Library, and we're going to start searching our census records. All right, Peggy, do you want to take it from here?
Okay, so we're going to scroll down to where it says Search Census. You have to bear with me, please. I'm a little slow today. And just click on the icon that says Search Now. And it will take you to the census collection, which is all the years that are available. Remember, you can search individual years if you'd like. You can search mortality census, Indian rolls. You can actually fix your search to where, everything doesn't come up. But today we're just going to be typing in my grandfather's name again. So you all are going to know all about him by the time this is over. So I'm going to let Billie talk while I type. So,
all right. So there again, if you're not sure the year that you'll be looking for, you can just type in the name, first name, last name, if you know a middle name. If you're not sure about the spelling of the name, just type in and see what happens. You never know what you may find. If you're not sure of the location, which you just typed in, if you know the state, you can just do the state. And if you're not sure about that either, you can also just leave it blank, but that will bring you up a lot of things that Ancestry finds. And then you'll just have to weed through everything. Census records are taken every 10 years. Every 10 years. So also when you find a record, it will have, which we'll bring up one in a second, it will have, especially if they were children or babies, it would be like January would be like 1 of 12, which means, they were maybe 1 month old. Or if they were 6 months old, it would be 6/12, which is 6 months old. And things like that. But you also have to look at the record and see what time of year it was, which we'll show with that as well. What time of year to figure out the age of the person. And I love census records because it's things you really wouldn't think about. And I'll go ahead and let Peggy click on one and we'll talk about it.
We'll take the first one here. Because I believe this is my grandfather. So let's take a look and see. Okay.
So from this screen, it says Isaac Worley in 1940 on the United States Federal Census. It has him as age 36, estimated birth year, and the ABT is about 1904. Gender male, race is white, birthplace North Carolina, married, and he's the head of the household. And where it was, Madison, North Carolina. Lived on a side road, main road, side road, holler, all kinds of things in there. Was it a farm? Yes. And then it gives the sheet number and then the number of household that the person that was taking the census record. So this was 117 that this person had done. Occupation, he was a farmer. and house owned or rented, and he owned his home. The value of the home or monthly rental, if rented, is $400. Did he attend school or college? That means at that time, yes or no. Highest grade completed, elementary school, 6th grade, which was typical during that time.
Yes.
That's
a lot of people, they had early education for a few years, but then they actually had to give up school to go home and work on the farms. There was larger families then than there are now. So 10 and 12 children usually to a household. So those older children actually went back home and worked on farms so that they could have things to eat and provide and help, support the family.
absolutely.
So then if we scroll on down, it should have who's in the household.
So the household members were Isaac Worley. He was the head of the household at age 36. Then it listed his wife and then his sons that he had at that time and their age. Also, with this screen, anything that is blue, you can click on. Like up here, it says neighbors. You can view others on the page. And most likely during that time, the neighbors were actually relatives.
Yes.
Whether brothers and sisters and grandparents, anything like that. And also underneath where it says household members, you can click on any of these. But one of the things that I really like about Ancestry and doing the census records is if you're not sure who Isaac's parents are or where Isaac was born, it will tell you where he was born. So this one says his birthplace is in North Carolina. So, that's narrowed it down a lot.
Yes.
Also, before we move on to the next screen, over here, it lists suggested records for Isaac Worley. So that we were looking at 1940. So this is 1930. And this one is death certificates from 1909 to 1976, a death index, and also Social Security application and claims from 1936 to 2007.
So even though we're searching in the census records off the home page, on the right-hand side, it opens up lots of other options for you to explore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if you ever get lost, always hit the home button and it'll take you back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
So this one goes to 1910. And you have to remember, census records are released every 70 years. So we're up to 1940,
I believe,
are the last ones. So this is another reason that it's very important that when it comes time to do the census records in your area and a census worker is coming to your house, or we're asking, they're asking for information on who lives in your household, this will help your ancestors.
Yes.
On down the road, that may be looking for you and say, well, where did you live? Where did my grandparents live? Because if they hadn't have done this, we wouldn't have this information.
Exactly.
But it's also good for the economy. All right, so we're going to click on the view over here. And we're going to show you what this census record looks like.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
We were hoping to show you what that census record looked like.
And sometimes that happens when they are updating their information.
Yes. But at the top of that census record, it would have given where it was. So it was probably on Worley or Big Pine. It would have give you the date that they were doing the census at that time of year. So usually the month and the year, so that you can know, like if, like it said, my grandfather was 36 years old in 1940, which would have been correct. So probably they came through after his birthday in February. But if they had, his birthday would have been in December, he still would have been showing as 36, but I would have known that he would have been 37 by that time probably. So just remember that, it's all in, you can't go exactly by the age that they have down in the census records, because you don't know when they came through exactly. Also, spelling of the names. Sometimes it's very hard to read when you get to these census records. Names can be misspelled, or if sometimes they come through and a child would actually give the information because the parents were out in the fields. So they may have missed one, you just don't know. So even though the census records is a government released record and it can be used for information, remember that it's not all foolproof. There can be some mistakes.
Absolutely. And also, on the census record itself, if they were married, it will also say how long they had been married.
Yeah.
And if they'd had 10 children and, some of them didn't make it, it would say they have 7 living children,
yes,
but they have had 10 total.
Right.
Which is another indicator of saying, oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so that will lead you to another piece of your history.
Yes. And a lot of times too, if you're looking at that, it will have on some of the census records, even where their parents' place of birth was. So if you're looking like way back, when you're looking at some of those, it might say they were from Ireland or from England or places like that. So be sure and look at those things too. Not all of them contain that. It depends on what jurisdiction they lived in and what their rules were. So be sure and just pay attention to that.
Also, you never know what you're going to find when you're doing this search.
Some surprises.
So it'll say, like if they owned a farm, how much it was worth. Could they read or write? Did they just work on the farm, or did they work in a business? Were they a laborer or whatever? Also on these census records, it may say, did you own slaves? So just to prepare you, it lists them as a dollar value and how many slaves they owned.
And there is a slave census also that you can research too. So
absolutely. And you can list it, you can find it by the last name.
Yes.
So we hope that you find things you're looking for.
Yes.
Which will lead you to your next magical find.
That's right. Your needle in a haystack find.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we're having fun doing this. We hope you are having fun watching us do this.
Yeah, and we appreciate every single one of you that are watching this and tuning in and seeing what's going to happen for the next program in this series.
Absolutely. So our next part of this series, we're going to be talking about forms and charts of where you can list everything that you're finding. So we hope you'll tune in with us.
Yes. Come back and join us.
So until next time,
take care.